everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bear's Guide to a 5. Today, we're going to talk about centripetal and centrifugal forces and try to keep it short. So, what we have to understand. So far, we have talked about all the different types of states that exist. Multi-ethnic states, multinational states, stateless nations, nation states. And we know that they're made up of all different types of people, of all different types of ethnicities, or maybe they're all one ethnicity. But what we haven't talked about is nation stability, right? What keeps a country from either breaking apart and the people absolutely hating each other, or what can pull them together and unite them as a nation? And that's what we're going to talk about with centripetal and centrifugal forces. So our first one are centripetal forces. The P stands for pull together. Some things that unite people in a country, shared history, holidays, national symbols. In the U.S., the 4th of July used to be the national anthem. The Statue of Liberty used to be things like the Declaration of Independence, but those things bring us together as Americans, or, you can use this example in other countries. But cultural unity is a fantastic one. If everybody in your country speaks the same language or practices the same religion, you know that you always have a teammate by you. So it brings people together. Other examples of centripetal forces, things that pull us together, it could be the type of government. If you have a strong, stable government, a strong, stable federal government, it can bring people together. If you have good infrastructure, it can bring people together. As I mentioned earlier, cultural unity. Also, shared enemies and threats of attack. And I know that seems a little strange, but nothing unites a country like having a common enemy. And then finally, geography. And that's kind of interesting too, but if you think about it, the smaller countries like Japan, that's an island, the people really aren't that spread out. So they feel more united, unlike countries like the United States, where our geography kind of hinders us because, how people feel in some states, they don't like people in other states, or they see themselves totally different because they're in another state. So then we get to our centrifugal forces. So really every example that I just talked about with centripetal forces, what brings us together, where it be a shared threat, a strong government, shared culture, just take the same things and flip them to the opposite. So religious linguistic fragmentation or religious linguistic differences, right? So if, say, Canada, for example, where half the population or more than half the population speaks English, and then you have this very powerful part of the nation that speaks French, or that they practice different religions, that is a centrifugal force. It forces people apart. If there's an ethnic conflict in the country, obviously if the ethnicities are fighting each other, that definitely forces them apart. As I talked about geography, when we talk about these fragmented states, Indonesia is a set of islands. You feel different than other people on other islands, or really big countries like ours. People in Texas generally don't like people in California. You know what I mean? They just have this different idea that they live different lives. And then we're going to get more in depth into types of government, and how governments bring people together and force people apart. And it really is the type of government that does that. So we'll discuss government philosophy a little later. So try to remember this. Centripetal stands for pull together. Now, unfortunately, it can lead to more ethno-nationalism, and we'll explore that concept. But you have better infrastructure development, and you have better cultural cohesion. Essentially, everybody in your country is going to get along a lot better, and your country is going to be more successful because you're not bothered with all the ethnic conflicts. You're not fighting over ethnicity, so you can focus on the bigger problems. While centrifugal forces can lead to failed states, uneven development in that country, more stateless nations, or more ethnic conflicts in general. So every state has a combination of centripetal and centrifugal forces. Every single country has stuff that brings people together and forces them apart. So yeah, that's it. What do you need to know today? That was easy, right? Under 5 minutes. So understand the difference between a centripetal and centrifugal force, and then have examples for each of them. That's it. So if you have any questions, make sure to write them down so you can bring them up in class and we can talk about them. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you can stay updated when new videos are released. And as always, this is Bear's Guide to a 5, and we'll see you next time.